Welcome to Sustainability Now, an exploration of technologies and paradigms to shape a world that works. Designed for socially conscious entrepreneurs and individuals interested in responsible stewardship of the planet. Sustainability Now covers food, energy, housing, water, waste, health, economics, and consciousness. Welcome to your community, Sustainability Now, with your host, Mira Rubin.
Welcome, everybody, to Sustainability Now, technologies and paradigms to shape a world that works. I'm your host, Mira Rubin, and I am delighted to introduce today's guest, Brian Ridgway. Now, Brian has quite a story. He, like probably many of you who are listening, has spent the better part of his life looking for ways to have an awesome life, self-help, all kinds of programs. And like many of us probably just hadn't found the thing, and had an epiphany where he discovered Brian, you'll say, a vehicle for transformation, and has since helped over 100,000 people in 83 countries to have massive breakthroughs in their lives. So we're having Brian here today because we're all about shifting paradigms and creating a world that works. And Brian brings a whole new definition to that idea. So welcome, Brian. So glad to have you.
Aloha. I'm glad to be on with you, Mira.
And Brian's here from Hawaii, by the way. So we've got a massive time difference that we're accommodating, which is pretty exciting. And so, Brian, tell us about you.
Well, my favorite subject, just kidding. I am kind of partial to it because I appear to myself to be the center of everything. I am kind of an anomaly, I find, surprisingly to myself. I had what most would call a very rough childhood, tremendously physically, mentally, and emotionally abusive. I lived in constant terror. I developed an extremely low, detrimental, unpleasant self-image and picture of the world and how life works, as many have. And I simultaneously found at a super early age, around 3, that I had a unique gift. There was no one around to explain it or understand it. I didn't know how to explain it. A gift of the ability to look at someone and listen to them for a couple seconds and know exactly how they were holding themselves back. I felt unconditional love for every human that ever came into my field. And so I would just look at them and say, oh my gosh, I can see, and I would start to tell them I had no filter. I had no wisdom, obviously. And that alienated everybody in my life, from my parents to my brother and sister, everyone that I met. I either freaked them out with the gift, or they were offended that I was offering help that they weren't ready to see, that they hadn't asked for. And so this is the shortest version, and you can ask any detailed questions. Around 17, my life was an absolute, utter train wreck. Every area of life that you could imagine, that self-image that I picked up, stupid, ugly, worthless piece of shit in a hard world. That's what I knew about myself in the world. And so I manifested that as my life and my self-image. I got into self-help at a super early age. I spent about 35 years, well over $300,000 on every form of self-help, practical, pragmatic, 7 habits stuff, goal-oriented stuff, personal money stuff. And when that didn't deliver what I wanted, I dove very deeply into multiple religions, and I didn't dabble. I gave it everything I had. Then when those things didn't deliver, I got into energy work and what some people would call woo-woo, not your audience, but what some would call woo-woo, energy work and things like that. And when it all failed, or I did, I ended up at age 46, homeless, hopeless, desperate, suicidal. And it was so ironic. I was the world's most incredibly miserable, positive thinker. I knew self-help. I knew every modality inside out. I could explain all quantum physics to anybody that wanted to listen. And even more, I was helping people by that point in my life. People were coming to me with all kind of issues, and I would sit with them for an hour or less and dissolve their deepest life issues. I saw cancers disappear. I saw diseases disappear. I saw lifelong issues disappear. And yet my own life was even worse. And I spent many years on and off suicidal. I was ready to end it. And on January 3rd, 2011, I had an awakening experience where everything I'd ever learned in all the self-help and all the quantum physics and all the energy stuff, I went out of the idea that everything's energy into the immediate experience of it. I went out of the idea of infinite possibilities into the experience of it. I was catapulted out of 46 years of hell into this miracle. I no longer believe in miracles. There's just one instant, ever-present, ongoing miracle. Once we peak above the level where we've been living and we see it, it was always there and it's always been waiting. It's always waiting for everybody. And I've been living there for the last 7.5 years. As you say, I started this business about 7.5 years ago and have been blessed incredibly to touch over 100,000 people and help them to take steps into this same life that I found.
That's a mouthful.
It's almost like I've answered that question before too.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling. So let me just ask you a question. You said that you always had this gift and you were able to help others, but you couldn't help yourself. What changed? Well, first of all, what kinds of things did you see in people in terms of the block that they needed to switch to get to their breakthrough before your epiphany?
Very interesting question. And just so that this can help to set the tone of the interview as we go, virtually everyone that I know, and I include all the experts and all the coaches and all the healers, and virtually everybody that I know believes in blocks, and I don't. I will, on the rarest of occasion, I'll use that term to relate to people. And we'll get into what I mean by that. Still, to answer the question though, I could look at someone and hear them. And the best way that I can explain this, and this will also probably inform other things too, and I can be pretty brief about it. There's only two places that a human being can speak from. You can speak from your infinite, unlimited, complete, perfect, eternal self, or you can speak from the identity that you have taken on. And that includes your beliefs, your paradigms, your programming, your traumas, your frozen emotions that haven't been dealt with. And I would summarize, part of my gift is the ability to instantly and ever accurately hear where someone is speaking from and to never miss. Like, I know when someone's speaking from one or the other, and if in the middle of a sentence they switch, I don't miss it. And I am not able to express in words how that's true or how that happened. I'm just telling you that's how it's always been. And so someone would speak to me and I could hear their emotion. I could hear the frozen sadness that was stuck in their, kidneys, in their gut, or in their lungs. I could sense, though I didn't visually see it, you might as well say I saw it. I could see the pain, I could see the trauma, I could see the beliefs that they developed, and I could see the behaviors in their words that instantly revealed to me exactly what they believed, what they thought, what they felt, and how they were using that to perpetuate their problems. And I was able to help them to see it. So it's probably the clearest, simplest way I can put it.
So when you had your epiphany, you said your life was miserable. What shifted in your own experience of yourself that opened up a world to you?
Okay. Well, I realized in that moment of awakening, I realized that all the ideas about energy, all of the ideas about messages in water, all of the ideas of raise your vibration, all of the ideas and concepts and beliefs about focusing on what you want, and we're in energy that's in infinite possibilities, all of those ideas don't do a damn thing but frustrate and confuse someone. It's everybody I talk to has it here. I don't even like have people come into my world anymore that don't have it here. I know there are people that don't yet, but what happened for me was it went from an idea and a set of ideas into an instantaneous experience. And I realized in that moment, though I didn't think it, I realized it, I knew it. No matter what I've ever thought of myself, no matter what I was ever programmed to believe, no matter what I think that I believe that I know, and no matter how many authorities told me, no matter how there appears to be a pre-existing religious, medical, governmental, military, educational structure that has all these ideas that they program me with, regardless of all of it, ultimately, I am eternal, infinite, unlimited energy, and therefore I'm neither good nor bad. I'm neither right nor wrong. I'm neither positive nor negative. I'm neither worthy nor unworthy. I'm neither deserving nor undeserving. I'm actually perfect by definition, just like all of life and creation and you and everything else. And in that moment of releasing all the nightmarish, horrific, terrible things I knew and believed about myself with the inevitable, eventual punishments that would come down the pike, it all was abolished and dissolved in that flash of awareness. I'm perfect. Oh, well, there's not inevitable punishment or nothing's inevitable. I'm in a state of perpetual grace where the whole universe arises and passes away a septillion times per second. Nothing continues unless I carry it with me. So it's a matter of me laying all my stuff down, and I did, and I've been doing that ever since.
So there's so many things in that I want to explore a little bit further, but one is that you said that you always had this gift and yet your life was miserable. The epiphany, your life was transformed. How did that shift your gift?
Well, there's a few things in that too. We are doing a 24-hour interview, right? Just
at least.
I would say how that affected my gift. I stopped interpreting my gift as a curse. I stopped making my gift a curse. And I released much of the behavioral mechanisms and inflections in my voice that I was completely unaware of. So let me drop a nugget in here. If someone believes, man, woman, boy, girl, whatever gender someone chooses to manufacture and pretend that they are, whatever race, color, whatever we choose to pretend and defend that we are, for those who do, whatever you think and believe you are, including when they told you that you were a bad girl because you took a cookie because you freaking wanted a damn cookie. I know the rules, but there's the damn cookies and I want. And they said, oh, bad girl, you don't get the blah, 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 blah. And some part of us said, oh, bad. And then we heard other people say, oh, bad girl's the one. And then we start to form these things into our identity, and they dictate those things we think and believe that we know about ourselves in life, dictate our language, our behaviors, our actions, the inflections of our voice. We are going to find a way to sabotage any damn thing and every damn thing that comes down the pike, because I know I'm the bad boy that doesn't deserve. So when I would find an opportunity to deserve something, I might slip in a snide remark to the person that would cause them to not like me, completely unbeknownst to myself, below their conscious radar. They're like, I don't like this jerk. And so those things, those behaviors began to dissolve out of me, and I let myself be the perfect, unconditionally loving being that we all secretly are. And so therefore my application of my gift was harmonious now, rather than in any way disharmonious or repellent, or undesirable. And I also had acquired some wisdom over the course of a few years that I only offered to use my gift with someone who invited it. And so that led to me saying, wait a minute, I do this thing that I am. What if I did for my work that thing that I am? Man, everybody else could do that too. They're not ready to hear it yet. But so I started doing what I am and turned that curse into a gift and then a business.
And so that enabled you to share it more widely, more effectively with people?
Yeah.
So you've been known to say that self-help is the greatest impediment to awakening and self-awareness. And I can see how that could be so, because there's a premise that there's something wrong that needs fixing, right? In self-help. However, you said yourself that you spent a good portion of your life pursuing these things, and then it came together in a moment of experience where you switched from intellectual understanding to an experiential awareness. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think that you were, I have this idea that transformation is quantum, and that all that pulling together of all this self-help stuff and awareness and growth and understanding reaches a certain momentum that then allows for that moment of grace. What's your take on that?
I would agree that that occurs sometimes. It isn't necessary. I'm going to say, in my experience, it's not necessary for someone to have that awakening experience. And it is very common. And this is the irony of this. I don't knock law of attraction. I don't knock law of attraction teachers and coaches and authors. I don't knock energy workers. Like, everything is perfect exactly the way it is. And when someone is not ready to embrace their perfection, yet they want help, they're going to intentionally manifest and create bullshit to invest in so that they can be frustrated yet again. It's all perfect. Every single course, everything that I did was exactly what I wanted at that moment. So it's all perfect. The contained in your question, there's a few threads. One more that I feel inspired to touch on is the ultimate catalyst isn't how much hell you've gone through. Although that can be a factor. It can be a factor. It isn't. It isn't how much self-help and how much development you've done. It is actually the moment of surrender, when you let go of everything you think and believe that you know, and whatever is the precursor of that, whatever is the final spark, when one says, okay, I don't know. And guess what? For a lot of people, it's agony. It's a moment of inescapable, oh, damn, there's no way out. Okay. And in that moment of letting go, the lights all switch on. And we find out. So one of my absolute favorite quotes is that I awakened to find that my only tormentor all along was that part of me left over from yesterday. And like, I know a lot of people will look at that comment, wow, that is such a beautiful quote, and they go right on with their life without really looking at it. Well, that's fascinating. That's amazing. Now, what was I doing? If we do look at it for a minute, I awaken, that's cool, to find, and when I awaken, I discover that my only tormentor, I did feel like there was things chasing me. I did feel like there was Godzilla and a devil and whatever else, IRS and just bad people and that religion and that race and whatever I felt was attacking me and harming me. My only tormentor ultimately was just that part of me that was left over from yesterday. So what was that part of me left over from yesterday? Oh my God, it looked like an IRS and that race and those people and holy crap, that is me. And it's what I think and believe that I know about those. And the evidence is when you release those and all those things that were giant monsters chasing you all turn into perfection. And there's no more animosity. So yes, and maybe, and no, it just isn't necessary ultimately. And so I want anyone to know, you don't have to go through the hell. You don't have to spend $300,000 on self-help. You don't have to, suffer and end up homeless and suicidal and stuff to have that experience. And I'm helping a lot of people to step into this experience who didn't have to go through all that. Although I will say a huge percentage of my clients, the people that go to the highest levels with me often are people who have spent six figures and decades on self-help. But I help them to bypass that suicidal, homeless moment and wake up without it.
Phenomenal. So we're doing a program here on sustainability, and a big part of our focus is, well, our punchline is technologies and paradigms to shape a world that works. And your premise is the world works already.
Yeah, it's flawless. It's perfect. It's absolutely awesome. And that doesn't mean that we can't make it however we want it.
And that's what I really want to discuss is in this place of perfection, how do we source, or what is it that is being sourced when we decide to do things in the world? Where's that coming from?
Ooh, that's the biggest question. And I'm glad we're doing a 24-hour interview. So I'm gonna make this way oversimplified, and then we can discuss it. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll find out how this works afterwards. My guess is there's probably going to be a bunch of comments and questions wherever this interview gets shared, that we can continue the conversation and go deeper. And obviously you can ask further questions. Here's the vast oversimplification. The way that I see the universe, right? There is an infinite, unlimited universe made of energy, can be dissolved, rather discerned and described and dissected an infinite number of ways. So any way of explaining it is as good as any other. That doesn't mean it's going to be as serving as another, which is a very different thing. Okay. So my way of describing the universe isn't right. It isn't wrong. It is the way that I've seen thousands and thousands of people who had literally tried everything. A shocking number of my clients are coaches, mentors, healers, billionaires, law of attraction experts, coaches, mentors, therapists, energy workers, who all people would think have their shit together. And they come to me, my shit ain't together, Brian, and I don't know why, but I see that thing you're doing is different. I don't understand what it is. I'm able to help them to do that. So this model that I'm about to share, the answer to that question is the thing that has set all those people free. So I just say, try it on, see how it fits, okay? So here's the way I do it. Let this symbolize eternity. The state of perfection. There's no movement because there's no space. There's no change because there's no time. So it's just infinite possibilities. Infinite being exists in a state of infinite possibilities forever. No movement, no change, no nothing. And at some point, infinite unlimited being says, bliss forever. This is awesome, but I really want to do something. So it says, let there be. And the one said, and you experience it as you, because you're the center of your universe, whether our parents liked it or not. Yes, Mom, I am the center of the universe. From where I sit, I don't know about you. So you said, I want to have an experience. This bliss is great forever. Nothing can harm me. I can't die. Nothing can happen. I want to have an experience. So I'm going to create an illusion of time and space. Damn, I can't because there's nothing to make a universe out of. Oh, I'll make it out of myself. So you said, let there be, and you projected out of eternity into time and space. You made it, or out of eternity, into this illusion of time and space. You created the illusion of time and space. You created the illusion of everything before you and everything that'll come after you. You created the illusion of a mother to be born to and everything else so that you could experience the one thing you can't experience here, which is limitation. Because limitation and experience strangely are synonymous, because here there is no experience, there is no limitation. Here, wow, dogs that bite and sharks that can eat you and buses that can run over you and people that can be nice and then mean and diseases and all this crazy stuff. So you are here to have experience. You're here to have experience. And this model, infinite, unlimited being, projects out of eternity into this illusion of time and space, creating all of the illusion of the universe so unbelievably convincing, undeniably like, holy shit, I stubbed my toe and it even hurts. I know this is real. We've made it magnificent and complex beyond the mind's ability to comprehend. And then we got focused in our mind so that we'd forget that, because if you remembered you were an infinite, unlimited being, the minute there was a threat, the game would be over. So this model boils down to this. The world and the universe and the family and the geographical area that you find yourself experiencing is exactly what you created as the playground for you to have your experiences. Therefore, it's perfect. It's exactly what you wanted. Now, why would you change that? Because you find out along the way what you prefer to experience. when someone has the moment that they accept the possibility, wait, what if, let me just try that crazy, and Brian seems crazy, but let me just try it for 1 minute. I mean, this is far off anything I've heard, but if I'm here for experience, if that's true, then what would be the most important question I could ever ask? What do I want to experience now? Because I see there's stuff I do want to experience and there's stuff I don't want to experience. I want to experience more of what I do. No one can deny they want to experience more of what they want to experience, and they want to experience less of what they don't. If you strip away the religious and karmic bullshit that we invented to lock ourselves in, if you just question it and get curious, you're actually here having experience. Some you like, some you don't. What if you start to focus on the experience you want to have? That inspires us to create on purpose the body, the health, the business, the wealth, the relationships, the life, and the world that we want to live in. And so there's the mechanism that I see that inspires that, oh, I can still focus on changing the world, not because it's wrong, not because it's bad, not because of the pollution, not because of no, because that puts me in opposition to what is. Now I'm still stuck. When I focus on the world I want to live in and nothing else. And you know what? You haven't reined me in, so I'm going to continue with one more thing. The first argument that I find that most people have at that point is when they begin to look, everything that they were ever told by their religion, their grandparents, the school system, their mom, their dad, every system that told them that selfishness was wrong and bad. Yeah, but if I was to focus on the world that I want to live in, I might do bad things. I might become really selfish. I might neglect everybody else. And I find without exception that the opposite is true. It's when you think that you have to live the world the way it is, when you are trying to not be selfish, that's where all of the hell comes into play. The minute someone decides to focus on the world they want to live in, they realize real quick they want to live in a loving, healthy, happy, conscious, harmonious world. So
do you ever, I have to ask, do you ever have a bad day?
Oh, no. I have, life continues. And in the moment, I notice that there are things that I prefer more of and things I prefer less of. And it doesn't matter how much of the things I prefer less of show up in front of me. I can have a momentary reaction. So each one of these questions, I know I'm going a little further. This will be maybe a great clarifier, and it's so simple. I went from living in hell 24/7 down to the minute for 46 years. Then, and over those last few years, I started to have a few seconds here and there of not so bad. You know what I mean? And now I have a few seconds every day of, oh shit, wait. It's more of the same. What do I prefer to experience here? And it doesn't matter how big, nothing's big or small. It doesn't matter how scary, because there's nothing scary. I just feel fear. Doesn't matter the magnitude of what's happening. What matters is that I'm breathing and I'm staying present, and I look and I say, wow, I really am not enjoying this. I don't prefer that. Now, how would I prefer, being that this has come into my life, how do I prefer for it to go now? And by continuing to choose, what do I prefer, what do I prefer, what do I prefer, and staying present, and that's the key to all the keys, is to stay present. No such thing as bad days. And it's not, ask the people that are closest to me, and they'll say, crazy as hell, but he actually lives it. I know he's not supposed to. He's supposed to be one of those gurus who talks about it, but you follow him around for a day and you find out, no, I'm living it.
Awesome. So the big takeaway here is to keep coming present to the question, what do I want to experience now?
Let me reword that very slightly, and it might make a quantum leap.
Awesome.
To stay present. Okay, that will imply, and there will be times when one does come back. However, if we're focused on staying present first, it becomes effortless to also stay focused on what we prefer to experience. Presence is the key. Like if someone ever said, Brian, you have 15 seconds to say your last word to your kids and everyone you love, and then we're going to put a bullet in you. Okay, 15 seconds. I'd say breathe as deeply as you can with calmness. Become completely present. Stay there, and then consistently choose what you want. Anytime anger, sadness, or fear comes up, breathe deeper, let it move through, and then focus again on what you want to experience. Presence is it.
So in the midst of, I'm just looking for practical things for people to take away. So in the midst of a challenging moment, find that breath and be present to choosing what you want to experience. Yes?
Very, very close. I'll fine tune again because this
Please.
level 5 paradigm changes everything. Okay. I would say in a challenging moment, remember there's no such thing as a challenging moment. It's me here experiencing a moment with something I am not preferring. See, that it's that thing that I'll come back to again and again because it's the thing. The belief in a challenging moment is going to create an endless stream of challenging moments, and I'll believe it's another challenging moment. And if I'm realizing that I'm here, nothing is hurtful, I'm just feeling hurt. Oh, isn't that so sad? It's so sad that no, it's not sad. I'm feeling sadness. Oh my God, this is a horrific nightmare. No, it isn't. It's exactly what's happening. I am experiencing something that reminds me of what I used to believe horror and nightmares were. So all that's happening is what's happening despite my ideas. And if I'll release my ideas, guess the best way to release ideas? Be absolutely present. Breathing deep, being centered, and noticing what's happening. And yes, there are events that can give and bring up the anger and sadness and fear inside of us. If we can stay conscious and present that this moment happened and it is triggering anger and sadness and fear that was in me, instead of making the moment the bad thing, it's automagic.
I love that word. That's wonderful. You should trademark that word. That's great. So where is the line between an emotional experience and a perceived event? And I'm saying a perceived event because I anticipate that you'll say there is no external event. And maybe I'm wrong about that.
Ultimately, that is true. However, as humans, we don't generally experience it as if it wasn't. I mean, listen, so I know that there's nothing outside of me. I know it beyond the shadow of a doubt, and I almost always live it. And I am living it more deeply and more consistently every moment. That's what I help people to do, is have this experience. Take it from an idea to experience, okay? The key is to be, this is going to sound like a broken record here, to be present. And when you begin to perceive, oh my gosh, this bad thing is happening, to as quickly as one can, and we get faster and faster, if that's our intention, we get faster and faster at recovering. Okay, so this isn't exactly the question. You feel at any moment, obviously feel free to rein me in, of course. For me, I used to live in a state of either, and I mean almost my entire life, Mira, I was either at the pinnacle of fury or the depth of depression. And when I had that awakening experience, I didn't step into, oh, it's rainbows and sparkle ponies every second. No, stuff was still happening. I had anger, sadness, and fear frozen in my body with trauma like every other human being on this planet, virtually, if not literally. And so I had emotions to process, and I had tools now to process them. So what I learned is that every moment that comes up, that I would say it's a bad moment, it's an angry moment, it's a sad moment, it's a this. And this is going to be maybe the most profound point that'll come out of this interview, and it will probably get seen from different angles as we go. All of the trauma inside of us isn't us. And all of the anger and sadness and fear that we might label as betrayal and abandonment, and listen, if it ain't anger, sadness, and fear, it's not really an emotion. It's a mental interpretation of emotion that we use to avoid our emotions. And almost everybody's avoiding their emotions all the time for reasons we can discuss. When you have that moment, you say, oh, this is so terrible, and I just feel so betrayed. If you would stop in that moment and say, wait a minute, it's not a terrible moment, it's what's happening. And there is no betrayal. That's a mental assessment of what this person did. Actually, I feel sad. Here's the beauty behind it all. If you didn't have that sadness frozen inside of your body, needing to ultimately be felt, released and returned to infinite possibilities as your power and resources, that person would never have done that thing. So literally, this is getting on the edge of the weird here. My definition, or if you look at the definition of angel, the central definition is it's a messenger. It's someone bringing a message. In my view of the universe, which again has worked for all these people where nothing else ever worked, that's why I use it. An angel is the biggest asshole that ever hurt you the most, because when you wake up and realize, what if they're not an asshole? What if they didn't hurt me? I'm not going to let them off the hook quite yet, but what if that sadness was in me and they simply showed up to give me a circumstance to enable me to feel the sadness that was already inside of me, ready to be felt? Now, what we've done all of our lives is that asshole shows up and does that thing, and we join the I hate that son of a bitch group on Facebook, and we talk around the water cooler about what that asshole did, and we lay in bed and tell our stories. I can't believe he did that. And we do this on and on and on, and blame, putting a wall up and preventing ourselves from ever waking up to realize, wait a minute, they didn't make me feel that feeling. And this is where almost all self-help stops. Good coaches, good therapists, good healers, they'll say, well, no one can make you feel anything, Mira. And that sounds really good, but it doesn't get anywhere near the root. The root is, what if that person showed up as a gift to you? What if they literally every single time without exception, you mean Brian, even the guy who blank? Yep. But what about the ones who, yep, they're angels showing up to give you an opportunity through their actions to give you a chance to feel the feelings that are stuck inside of you already. They can't make you feel. They didn't give you that feeling. You had that feeling in you. So dropping the whole illusion, what would I prefer to experience right now? I would prefer to be at peace. Well, what was I believing that, and the whole thing can unravel. And the beautiful thing is, the minute that happens, those assholes disappear out of your universe because they never were. So I went way down a side road on that one in order to answer what I perceive you asking. That was where I had to go. So, fine tune as needed.
So I've heard you talk about fear and sadness, betrayal. What about love?
Love is. So in this model of the universe that I live, and I find that it's how the universe actually works. Behind all of our, I've seen religious models of the universe, and I've tried them on, hundreds of them. I look at people's paradigms and I listen. I say, well, try that on, be curious, be open. This model that I'm sharing with you, again, is the only one I've seen that addresses absolutely everything, okay? So in this model, light is, and it is, the whole universe is light. There's no such thing as dark. It's a word we made up to describe the fact that there's parts of the light that we don't see with these eyes. We're brainwashed and hypnotized to use these to see rather than all of our senses, because when we were in school, they said you have 5 senses. And we said, huh? And they said, you have 5 senses. Then they said, how many senses do you have? And we said 5, and they put a star on our paper, and we gave up all of our other senses. We bought the 5 senses lie, right? We have infinite senses. And we only see visible light. Therefore, we say that's what is. And that hinders us from seeing that everything is light and everything is love. And that's all there is. Anger, sadness, and fear are the feelings that we perceive when we have something hindering our awareness of love's presence. And that's all really there is to it.
Beautiful. I would like to give you the opportunity to talk about some of the truly miraculous transformations you've been part of with people as a result of bringing them back to more truth of what is.
Okay. I have a few hundred stories that come up. Narrow it down to a few. I'm going to make a disclaimer here. So I live, even though I'm in Hawaii, which is actually not a part of the U.S., it's an illegally occupied, thing that was taken over, like so much of the world. I still qualify legally as American, which in the United States of America, if I assist someone to facilitate a miracle and it happens, I can't legally say that I did. And I have to legally say these results are not typical. For whatever reason, anyone would create that type of a governmental agency to limit someone's ability to speak and to limit people's ability to hear about miracles. I don't buy into any of that bullshit. However, I like being free, and I don't like concrete rooms. So I say the words that I legally am required to say. These results are not typical, and not evaluated by any 3-letter agencies and FDAs or anything else. And ultimately, you're an infinite, unlimited being in a state of infinite possibility. So in their paradigm, all those things are true. In the paradigm that I walk and live and share with those who want it, everything they say and think and believe is utter, absolute, total, complete bullshit. And I don't buy any of it. And I used to, and my life sucked like theirs does. And then that makes you pass laws and rules like that. So I don't buy into any of it. And ultimately, infinite possibilities are typical because they're available to everyone who is an infinite, unlimited being. So now,
it's the truth of it.
Yeah, ultimately, it's the ultimate truth for those who want to see it, and let everyone who doesn't want to see it just stop the interview and go about their life, right? Okay, now with that said, I'll give an example that is so like it's the ultimate picture of what happens that embodies so many things. I've spoken around the world. I've worked with groups of hundreds of people online, webinars, programs, everything. I've done, 1,000 maybe one-on-one private sessions, formal, and who knows how many thousands of conversations that were mini sessions. And when I work with an individual that comes to me ready to be more free than they were, and I don't dictate how free, however far free they want to get, that's how far I'm going to be able to help them to get, because that's what I do. That's what I'm on the planet to do. And so someone comes to me and says, I have this, and I help them to see it. And if they want to go further, I help them go further. And if they're done, that's great. One of the things that freaked me out as I get ready to give an example, a pinnacle example here, is when I have worked with groups of people and someone steps up with an issue and I work with them. I could be online working with you and there's 600 people on the webinar watching just the moment I'm working with you. Or I'm in a room with 700 people and someone stands up and I'm working with them. Every person who is watching and totally tuned in has their own version of the breakthrough, while the person that I'm working with is having their breakthrough. And the reason for that is because, that little phrase that all of us spiritual people like to say, we're all one. Well, it isn't just a spiritual phrase. When we wake up, we are literally one. We all have the same issue. Everybody's center is the same center. Everybody roots to the exact same infinite, unlimited point of origin right here and now. And so we're all just projecting different tentacles of awareness into our seeming separate center of awareness. So now with that said, here's an example. A couple years ago, I did a Spellbreak and a free webinar.
I'm going to ask you to stop for a second to explain. This is the first time you're using the term Spellbreak. So just kind of give a background for that.
Okay, so we are every one of us is under spells. And if anyone hearing my words says, no, I'm not, well then, okay, fair enough. From where I sit, every one of us is under an infinite number of spells. If we're an infinite, unlimited being, then anything's possible. And if we're experiencing any limitation in any area of our life, why, how, what is it? It's a spell we're under. We believe I'm this, I'm not that, I can't have this, I shouldn't have that, I'm a bad girl, bad boy. Oh, this is how the world is, and then life sucks, and then you die. Only 2 things certain, death and taxes, We have all these layers and hierarchies of spells down to gravity, down to the idea that we need food to survive when we are infinite, unlimited energy. It goes infinitely into complexity. So when someone comes to me, I do what I call spell breaking, which is where I help them to dissolve one or more of those spells. And just like Sleeping Beauty, they get off the bed and go, what the hell? And I don't even have to kiss them, which is really awesome for me. Okay, so that gives a primer, right, on spell breaking. So I offered to do this spell breaking session. I've done it several times where I did a live public facing webinar, invited whoever wanted to come, and I did free spell breaks as kind of a expose, you could say, to get exposure for myself and my work, get people to read my book, find out that this exists and it's possible, and to give and just be generous because I'm creating the world I want to live in. Yeah.
So you just mentioned your book, and I want to take the opportunity to let folks know that we'll have a link to that from our website at sustainabilitynow.global. And you have a book and a bunch of video resources and all kinds of things that you're making available for free to people. And we definitely want to share that and get the word out.
Beautiful. I welcome that 100%. So a lot of these people have experienced some of that stuff. Then they come to the spell break, and a lot of people come to it hoping, oh God, I hope he picks me for a spell break. Well, this guy, 25-year-old young man named Justin, lives in Canada. He had been on, and here's the brief story when he came on and said what he wanted to deal with. He was 25 years old, lived in Canada, had been working in the oil fields, laboring for many years. He had joined a direct sales company and was wanting to really step into freedom. He'd been at it for about 8 months, and he was making $2,200 a month average. And when he came on the call, he said, I feel like I'm hitting a glass ceiling, and it's like I can't, no matter what happens, if I make a little bit more, I make less the next month. And that is so common. Feast or famine, comfort zone, they call it in sales. And I worked with him for, I'm going to guess, 25 to 30 minutes. The whole thing was recorded, and there were probably 600 people watching. At the end, so I went through the spell break with him, and at the end of it, he said, I feel like my legs are hollow, like something went out of my legs and my butt and my lower back, and I feel hollow and empty. I feel so light, like something really changed. I mean, he cried, he was shaking. It was a powerful experience. And a bunch of people were commenting that they had very similar experiences to him. Now, I was told, and this is where the disclaimer, results, whatever, not typical, blah, 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 blah. And Justin has the evidence of all this for those who want to see it. About 30 days later, probably actually 15 days later, he let me know that he was having a record-breaking month. By the end of the next month, he had made $17,500. And his upline in this company was asking him to close deals for them because he was one of the most successful people at making money and helping people in the company. Okay, that was pretty cool. That's just the tip of the iceberg, though. So let's go back 30 days, right after the spell break. About an hour later, I got a message on Facebook from someone saying, Brian, you don't know me. I've been following you. We read your book about a week ago. I dragged my wife, who didn't want to come. I dragged her to this spell break seminar. And while you were working with Justin, her back miraculously healed. She had been at 0 to 10 in a 6 in agony, 24/7 for 22 years with spikes of 8 to 10, screaming uncontrollable. She had a back injury and a back. She was a fitness competitor, bikini fitness model. She had a car wreck. It was something like 33 fractures and 3 full breaks of the pelvis and spine. And she was in total agony for decades. And they made a video, and this was one of the most mind-boggling things, Mira. They had gone through and made a video. He interviewed her. It was like I couldn't have produced something to market myself that would have been as powerful as this. They went around the house showing the pins and things out of her back, the prescriptions that she had been on, and every course and program that they had purchased to try to heal her, everything known to man. And then he put the camera on her, and she bent over and touched her toes. She had barely been able to bend for 22 years. She was crying. She said, I was able to pick up my child for the first time this morning. It was a powerful, powerful video. And this happened by them watching me work with Justin on a money issue. Now, this happens constantly with my work. Now, I was amazed. I was in awe. And then about 8 hours later, I got a message from somebody in Belgium who said, my girlfriend, Elke, is diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She's barely been able to walk at all for the last 2 years. She's getting to where she's fatigued, she's exhausted, she can barely move. She watched your spell break. She fell asleep near the end of it. She woke up this morning. So it was, other side of the world in Belgium. And she just walked 2 miles to 5 kilometers to the market and back. And she's jumping up and down as fit as a puppy. That was my buddy. Now he's my friend. His words about Elka. She's as fit as a puppy, jumping up and down. Okay. Now that's pretty freaking amazing. And then about 3 days later, I got a message from a woman who said, Brian, this is the big story. This is kind of mind-boggling here. I want to be really clear about this. All 3 of those people, I heard way more stories than this. Those 3 people, all 3 made videos for me, saying this in their words and with evidence. And I didn't ask anybody for videos. I said, oh, well, if that's the case, if you want to share that, please do. And they went and made these incredible videos. So this lady, Karen, said, Brian, my mom died of cancer at the age that I'm at right now. And my sister had cancer. My biggest fear my whole life has been dying of cancer. And I had growths on my nose and on my thigh. And I refused to go get them diagnosed because I was not going to hear that word said. And I just lived with this incredible fear for the last 20 plus years, 24/7 living in fear. She said, I watched your spell break, and the next morning when I woke up, the growths on my nose were gone without a trace. There's no scar. There's nothing here. 2 weeks later, the ones on her leg basically came off in her sleep. And these things happened not because of me working with the person. They happened by them watching me work with someone, one of whom watched a replay. Okay, so you talk about these kind of things happening. I've had a lady with a prolapsed bladder who had it for over 10 years. She was finally going to give in and go get surgery. She didn't want to. She watched a video that I put up as a bonus spell break in one of my programs, and her freaking bladder pulled back up in her body. She had done Reiki for years and all kind of other stuff. So, Brian, you're claiming to be a miracle healer. Nah, I never said anything. I'm not a healer. I'm not a miracle worker, other than the fact that we're all infinite, unlimited miracle workers. The thing is, I've let in the ability, and I've had the gift since I was 3 to be able to look at someone with such unconditional love that they can tell that I don't believe any of the bullshit they believe about themselves. And that starts the process. And then if they invite my help, when they begin to realize I'm an infinite, unlimited being, how does the disease fit here? Well, the disease no longer has a home.
So I'm listening to you talk about these massive shifts that are really coming about as a result of an awareness of our infinite nature.
Exactly it.
So the question that I have is, how do we turn that to the world? How do we use that, being that this is a show about sustainability, how do we use that to create this magnificent playground with all the abundance and joy and health and that we can dream of?
Oh, I love the question, and you're either going to love or hate my answer or both. We can't turn it to the world because that's none of our damn business. Ultimately, we live in a world. I live in a world that you live in. And what the world you might prefer, I know you don't, Mira, but you could prefer Monsanto and Bayer to poison everybody and everything. Some people obviously prefer it, or it wouldn't be happening. No, it's bad. No, it's not bad. It's happening because some people, there's infinite, unlimited beings projecting out of eternity. They're in unlimited eternal bliss. They're in heaven forever and ever and ever in eternal bliss. You go to earth for a vacation. Hey, send me in. Let me suffer a little bit. So you can't die. You can't be hurt. So you get the experience of dying and being hurt and poisoned and all this crazy fun stuff over here. So when you and I decide we would rather live in a world that's healthy and harmonious and all of that stuff, we would be wise to remember and understand that there's plenty of people who want to have cancer and be raped and be violated and have human trafficking and pollution and plastic in the ocean. They would say they don't, but look at their lives and it's evident because that's what they have. And everybody's getting exactly what they want. They just forgot the part of themselves that chose it, and they forgot and haven't been told yet that they can change it. So for you and me to want to create that world in any way, and I'm not saying or implying that you do, Mira, not at all. I'm just saying most people do have opposition. Okay. If there's any opposition, then we're going to create opposition. However, if we simply focus on what do I want to experience now? What do I want to experience now? Someone will be inspired. If you and I, and it doesn't take both of us, this is the crazy part. It doesn't take both of us. It takes one person to say, how do I want to experience this world? And if I quit crying over the plastic in the ocean, I mean, listen, I've seen that 80 miles square, whatever the hell. Oh my God, I don't like that. I don't prefer that at all, but I'm not going to make it a bad thing. If I will stop hating it and fearing it and blaming everybody and feeling guilty when I throw a piece of plastic away, if I let that go and I focus on how I want to live in this world and what kind of experience I want to have, somebody in India, Bangladesh, or Topeka, Kansas, some kid is going to be sitting at their computer and go, wait a minute, if I mix this with this, it'll turn all the plastic in the ocean into rainbows. And someone will be inspired to facilitate that change with no one ever having been in opposition or trying to fix a wrong or right a wrong or solve the problem. So it really is, and I'm playing with you, and I'm not, by saying we don't necessarily turn it to the world. We keep it in, because the world is inside of me. The world I live in is inside of me, even though it seems opposite that. So by me focusing on the experience I want to have, I'm inspired to create and facilitate the world becoming the world I want to live in, because it was inside of me the whole time.
I consider it the 10-ticket ride. So people will spend all kinds of money to go on a roller coaster and terrify themselves. And I think that that's a lot of what's happening here. And to remember that we are the creators of our experience, that can transform it into rainbows and whatever, right?
I even go one hair further, and this hair could be eternal. I am, not we are. Because I can feel both of those. The thing is, the minute I make it a we, listen, you might want it to be blue, a rainbow that leans more towards blue. I might want a rainbow that leads a little towards, well, we can both have. So really, ultimately, it's for me to remember that I am that. I am the infinite, unlimited, eternal being that's projecting out of eternity into time and space. Everybody else are cells in my body. Unless that sound bombastic and selfish and narcissistic, whatever anybody else wants to label it, once you really get that, you also realize so is everybody else. The center, the infinite, unlimited being, the only one here, and I'm a cell in their body as well. So then we don't have to do a we in some of those areas that we're creating stress without us even knowing it. I prefer to experience this. And guess what? If you come over to my house or I come over to your house and you say, would you like to have tea, Brian? We could have tea. And I say, you know what? Yes. Now there's a we that we ain't violating anybody else. Yes, let's have some tea. Other things might be better served for now by I.
Awesome. So, Brian, I guarantee you that people are going to be listening to this and watching this and saying, I'm in. I want to work with this dude. I want to be able to experience that level of possibility. So what can people do to connect with you and what you're up to?
Beautiful. Well, so on the simplest, obviously, we can put links to my Facebook and all that stuff with this, so people can just find me and get on my page. I give away more stuff than most people sell, quite frankly, and I don't hold anything back. The only reason why people ever invest with me is that I forgive me or excuse me or whatever, allow, because I want to make this really clear. And I don't think I've ever said this in an interview before. And I'm really grateful that it came up for me to let it come out of my mouth. When I decided to let my being be my work, I wanted to help everybody for free. And I also realized that I do like to eat, and I like having a roof over my head and feeding my kids and all the other things that we do. And so I said, I will make it my business, and I'm going to make so much available for free that no one's even going to believe it. The only reason people step up is because they just want to be closer and have more time with me. And that is where my paid programs and one-on-one time comes in. And so like anybody that wants to, you can just get all my free stuff, use it with 100% presence, and Merry Christmas. You're free if that's what you want. Okay. As far as going beyond that, linking up with me on Facebook, following me on YouTube. I probably have 3,000 hours of free videos on YouTube. No fluff. If it's not totally inspired from infinite awareness, I'm not even going to open my mouth. I don't put free stuff on there just to get people to go to my other stuff. I do have doorways to other things. I have programs, I have courses, I have people that when they get to the point, they say, you know, I just want to go straight to the source of this. I have people come out and do multi-day one-on-one events with me in Hawaii, or they fly me to them around the world. I do that on a very limited basis because I only have one body right now as far as I can see. And
There's the
yeah. Yeah, exactly. The fact that I'm everything and everyone. So I welcome the connection, and there are a whole lot of ways that we can play together for anybody that wants to.
So how about if you give a primary website address, and we'll post all these links that you're discussing on sustainabilitynow.global, but just for folks listening that want to jot it down.
Perfect. Okay, so there's two main websites. There's briandridgway.com, and that's BrianDridgway. So it's Brian with an I, Ridgway with no E. BriandRidgway, RIDGWAY.com. It's my main website, and lots of videos, a lot of content. And then my book website. And I'm going to do 30 seconds of what most people would think is selling, but just it's free, so it's not really. You can buy the physical book on Amazon. You can buy the Kindle on Amazon. On my website, it's free, and that's breakyourselfhelpaddiction.com. No hyphens. Break Your Self-Help Addiction. Humorous title because the vast majority of people that come to me consider themselves self-help junkies. They have tried a lot, if not everything. breakyourselfhelpaddiction.com. You'll get the book for free, which became an international #1 overnight bestseller in multiple categories with me as a totally unknown author. Pretty cool. We're probably close to 300 5-star reviews on Amazon. And I designed this book where at the end of every chapter, there is a video. You simply, if you're reading the PDF, click the link, go straight to the website, or type it in. And there's a video where you either experience me doing a spell break with someone, and you get to have that spell break experience yourself, or I'm teaching specific ways to breathe and to cultivate your presence. So I put that book website on a par with any $2,000 to $10,000 personal development program anyone could ever buy, and the whole thing's free. So highly recommend it.
I want to thank you, Brian, for your generosity, for your wisdom, for talking about things that most people don't talk about. And just want to say thank you so much for being with us. Before we wrap up, I just have to ask you, is there a question that I should have asked you or that you wish I had asked you?
The magical question. Why, Brian, why is it that so many people spend decades or years on self-help? So many people spend thousands or even hundreds of thousands on self-help, and their deepest issues remain untouched. And how is it that your free stuff or an hour of your time can create those kind of crazy, crazy, crazy results? And here's what it is. First and foremost, I unconditionally love you, whether you're interviewing me, stabbing me in the back, which can't actually happen, which is why I put it in quotes, whether you're buying my shit, whether I meet you in the grocery store, or whether you're watching this interview right now. It doesn't matter. I unconditionally love you. And the people that are open and willing to allow in the possibility that they might actually be lovable despite everything they've ever heard and seen and learned, unbeknownst to them, they feel it, and it is like a beacon in the dark calling to them. And so that opens the door. And second, I don't deal with universal laws. If there's no physical universe here, how can there be universal laws, my friends? Okay. I operate in infinite possibilities, and I help the person I'm sitting in front of to feel and see infinite possibilities. And in that, the deepest issues can arise, dissolve, and be completely set free. And the person find themselves in a state of freedom on something they had worked on for decades without getting down to those two roots of unconditional love and true infinite possibilities beyond the idea. That's how it works.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So that's it for now. I'm Mira Rubin, your host. And until next time, actually, I have to say thank you. I want to say thank you not only to you, Brian, but to all of our listeners and the folks that see this podcast and share it and really make the world the wonderful and exciting place that it can be. And also to our producer, Scott Billy. And with that, I'll say, until next time, live your best life, love the world around you, and together we can save the world.
Thank you for listening to Sustainability Now, solutions to shape a world that works. Visit sustainabilitynow.global for resources related to today's program. And be sure to subscribe, share, and follow us on social media.